All right, so we are going to go into critical thinking. And I know this is a topic that many of you said is important to you, and it is something that you're wanting to work on and strive towards being more of a critical thinker. And I would say, critical thinking a lot of times comes with age and being comfortable and having confidence. And so some people get that at a younger age, but for other people, as you go through life and you experience different things, you also become more of a critical thinker. So just know that sometimes it just takes time to get there, and it can be a conscious effort that you work towards in becoming more of a critical thinker. All right, so I just really like this Wordle, and of course I like all the colors and things that are in it, but just looking at some of these words and what it means to be a critical thinker. So right here, the word believe. What are your beliefs? And do you stick up for those beliefs? And how did you come to have those beliefs? So thinking of those types of things. Conclusions. How do you draw conclusions on an argument or research that you're doing? How do you determine what is truth or what is false for yourself? Let's see, what else is in here? Involves, okay? Who else does this involve when you're looking at, different things that are important to you? And so looking back at your family and maybe how things were done in your family and how you came to be taught different things. Clarity, that's a big one. Having clear thoughts on something and really being able to dive deeper into a conversation and to explain yourself in a clear manner really shows that you're a critical thinker. Recognize, to recognize that other people are going to have different beliefs, and that's okay a lot of the times, right? And so to be respectful of other people and what their beliefs are. Another one that's on here is experience. So again, as you go through different experiences through your life and you meet different people who expose you to different information, you will develop more critical thinking skills. This one just jumped out to me right here, life, okay? So just maybe pause the video and look at a couple of those for yourself and see what they have to say. All right, so are you a critical thinker? So the definition here, the ability to think for yourself and to reliably and responsibly make the decisions that affect your life. So what does that mean? It means not allowing other people to tell you what to do, but for you to come to that conclusion on your own. And sometimes that's a really scary thing, to speak your own truth. I worked with a student for a few years here at the JC, and his goal was to transfer to Cal Poly and major in engineering. And so this summer in August, after attending the orientation at Cal Poly, he sent me an email. And he said, Amy, I don't think I want to major in engineering. So he had done 3 years of coursework in engineering to prepare for this. And he came to the conclusion after learning more about himself and who he was and what was important to him that that wasn't the path he wanted to take. He decided he wanted to go pre-med and major in the biological sciences. That was a hard truth to speak, to his family, to his friends, to say, I've prepared for this path, but it's not what I'm going to do, okay? So he didn't allow other people to determine what it was he was going to do. He did that for himself, right? So that's an important thing to think about. What are your own values? What does your internal compass say? I have students all the time who tell me, well, my parents really want me to do this. Just last week, a student said, I want to major in psychology, but my dad thinks that, it's just kind of a fluff major, but it's really what I'm passionate about. And so, sometimes we have other people who care about us and think that they know us pretty well and that they should tell us what it is that we should do. But again, it's important that you, can think for yourself and make those decisions to kind of lead your own life. So shoddy thinking can be very costly. If you don't, again, speak that truth, or maybe that, and you hold that in, it might be a few years before you say, no, this is what actually I want to do. I always feel my personal belief is everything happens for a reason. So person went down that road and they learned something, they learned not to do that again or whatever it might do or might be. But you really want to be thinking for yourself and to stand up for yourself and to have that confidence. And that's what being a critical thinker is really, it's not just about thinking, but it's about voicing yourself and having that confidence to say, this is what I want and this is what's important to me. So how does study skills prepare you, or how will your study skills prepare you to do well in college? So this is part of being a critical thinker, right? So do you understand the importance of critical thinking and why it is important? All right. So the things that we've just talked about and, again, just standing up for your own beliefs and your own values. Why do you think instructors assign rating? It's to dig deeper into the subject, to gain a better understanding of what that is about and what the person is saying. And maybe you have an argument against that, and so that's part of becoming a critical thinker. How do you prepare for class beforehand? Do you just show up and say, well, I'm here? That's great. But do you know what you're going to be talking about? Did you review the syllabus? Did you read the textbook? Did you look over notes from the previous class? Did you write down some questions? Being an active participant in the class is going to get you more out of it. Do you know what study strategies and memory techniques work best for you? So, figuring that out. Obviously, you're here, but so far we've talked about learning styles, and I'm hoping that some of you have kind of had that light bulb go off as far as this is the way in which I should study according to my learning style. Thinking about when do you begin studying for a test or an exam. Reading the chapter the night before an exam is not studying, okay? That should have been done way beforehand. And studying is studying throughout the term, okay? So it's not just before an exam, but it's looking over information constantly and moving that information from your short-term memory into your long-term memory. And then when doing research for a paper, how do you decide what resources you should use? Google's amazing, right? You can go in there and find whatever you want, but it's really important that you use the resources that are from scholarly journals and books and things like that, that have an argument to stand on, that have somebody who's writing it that knows what they're talking about. They've done, lifelong research in this area. And if you're feeling like you need some help in that, obviously we have our presentation from the library this week, but you might want to consider taking Library 10 to learn about how to use those resources and to become, stronger in preparing for research papers. All right, so are you a critical thinker? Do you investigate problems? Do you ask questions? Do you propose new answers? Do you discover new information? And are you willing to be wrong? So think about those things for yourself. Do you just take things at face value and move on? Or do you really think about something and maybe dig deeper into it? See what other information you can find. The whole fake news era that we're in. And so what's real and what's not real? And so just because it's printed or it's reported in the media or on social media doesn't mean that that's covering all areas of a story. And so digging deeper into that. The last one is one of my favorites. Are you willing to be wrong? And how you go about that just shows a lot about character. Do you gracefully admit, hey, yep, I wasn't right there. I made a mistake. That's part of being a critical thinker, as I thought one way, but now I've come to new information and I've learned something else. So on the basis of this explanation, how would you rate yourself as a critical thinker? So think about that for yourself. Where are you and why don't you do these things? Students say all the time, I don't ask questions in class because I'm embarrassed. I don't want people to think that I'm dumb. You're here to learn. You should not know everything about political science or anthropology or biology. Make no sense for you to be here. I'm constantly telling my kids it's okay to be wrong because then you're learning and you're eliminating something. So we have this notion that being wrong is wrong, and it's not all the time. That's how you learn and you develop and you grow. And so kind of get that negativity away from being wrong and think of it in a different way of, okay, I'm growing and I'm learning and I'm eliminating things. Okay, it's not that way. It's a different way. So to become a critical thinker, investigate problems and ask questions. It's one of the most important things that you can do is, again, just not taking things at face value, but to examine things, to dig deeper into information, to try to find answers, to go to people and ask questions. I cannot remember who it was, but I'm sure you remember in this last week's discussion post, somebody said, that I go to my instructors after class or during office hours to get my questions answered. And the person said, I didn't do that for a long time, but now I know it's okay. And it is okay. It's okay to find out new information and to try to put the pieces of a puzzle together. Considering multiple points of view, be fair and open-minded to all ideas. Don't shut people down. That's where no growth happens. And you're not saying, yes, you're right, or I believe you, or maybe you start the conversation with, let's not try to convince each other, but let's try to understand one another and where we're coming from, okay? And then draw conclusions, examine the outcomes of your inquiry in a more demanding, critical way. So then make a decision for yourself. Why am I going to think this way or be this way? And sometimes that is going against maybe the beliefs of your family, deciding, okay, my family, I was raised in this type of environment and my parents, believed this way, but that's not me. That's not who I am. And I believe a different way, and that's okay. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a conflict with families, but again, going about things in a respectful manner. All right, so collaboration fosters critical thinking. You're going to work in groups. You're going to work with other people in most cases. It's just going to happen. It's part of school and it's definitely part of your career. I can't tell you how many committees I'm on here at the college, and, I have to work with other people and I have to express myself. In my role as a counselor and as the Transfer Center director, I am an advocate for students who are not at the table. And so it's important that I bring forth the student's voice and I talk about the importance of how, a decision is being made and how it's going to affect students. So think about that with working with other students or within your own career when you get there, or maybe you're already there. But how in a learning environment, when there's more than one person, you're going to generate a greater number of ideas. You're going to hear somebody explain something in a different way that makes a light bulb go off for you. It makes things more understandable for you. And so group work is not horrible. I know it can be uncomfortable sometimes, but I highly recommend that you get involved in groups. This can happen face-to-face, but it can also happen in online classes. And so looking for those ways that you can connect with students in your online classes. Teamwork improves ability to think critically. So again, you're just going to collaborate in most work environments. And so the more you get comfortable in doing that and expressing yourself, the better you're going to be at work. So thinking critically about arguments, it's important to challenge assumptions. What are your own assumptions and where are those coming from? It's going to help you to gain a better understanding of what that is and how you got there and that type of thing. Examine the evidence. Don't just trust what you're told, but ask questions and be aware of logical fallacies. So make sure that an argument hasn't been compromised by faulty reasoning. Okay, so again, digging deeper and doing more research. So there's 6 common mistakes in logic. 1 is jumping to conclusions. 2, attacking the person or shooting the messenger. 3, appealing to authority, like professional athletes, or just saying, yes, they're right because, they're on TV or social media or whatever it might be. Pointing to a false cause. Thinking in absolute terms, it's all or nothing, and basing arguments on emotion. So, you want to be careful with these and step back and think about it. What was my argument? And did I fall into one of these, not realizing it? And I really just like this Dr. Seuss quote. So think left and think right and think low and think high. Oh, the things you can think up if only you try. So again, critical thinking is something that you need to practice and be aware of. And, when you have those questions in your head, ask them, practice it. It will help you to be a stronger, more confident person.